Okay, fellow Nigerians, greetings to you all. This is the Comrade Show. My name is Comrade Lamtic Mousa Oriahi. So much development across Nigeria, particularly looking at the presidential, petition tribunal. And of course, there's been some development that I'd like to talk about. Don't go away, stay with us. It is the Comrade Show, TCS.
Comrade Show, wait. Comrade Lamtic Oriahi. This is the Comrade Show.
Okay, my people, that which has been making headlines since yesterday, I wanted to talk about, having looked at all that has been on ground, that has been playing out, and of course, what is happening currently. Obedience have reasons to be smiling, even though a lot of people are very skeptical about what the outcome is going to be. Overwhelmingly, the Peter Obi legal team appear to be doing a very wonderful job with, the judges equally, having to accept, some of these very important, evidence and witnesses here and there. It's beaming and giving hope, to obedience all across. But let's make sense of what is happening currently. And what is happening currently is that evidence is beginning to show that INEC lied to Nigerians. INEC lied to Nigerians. And this, honestly, is a huge betrayal of trust. It's a huge betrayal of belief. It's a huge betrayal of, confidence. And only God knows how the judges are going to be interpreting these. But there are some things that are quite, that are quite, catchy to the eyes that we cannot take our heart away from. To be honest, the Peter Obi legal team have been presenting so many, evidence here and there to try to drive the point home that, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu was wrongly, declared president of, Nigeria, and Obi, confidently had said that he won the election and he was going to prove it, and somehow, with what we're already experiencing right now, it's increasingly looking like Obi is proving that he won the election. But what happened on Monday? On Monday, INEC subpoenaed, Amazon. And Amazon sent, one of their, staff to Nigeria, to the appeal court, to present evidences to show that the report that had been widely publicized, from INEC to say that on the day of the presidential election, that's talking of 25th of February 2023, that they had technical glitches that did not make INEC to upload the results. And of course, this witness, came up to debunk all of that, and even gave further evidence to show that everywhere Amazon is involved in elections, never has it occurred that there were glitches. And of course, Amazon must defend herself. Amazon is a reputable organization. They do not want to be dragged into this web of corruption, that is prevalent in Nigeria. This web of lies that is prevalent, amongst the political class in Nigeria. And they don't want to be dragged into the mess that, the INEC chairman has dragged Nigeria into. And all of that. And of course, all of this, they are increasingly showing that the election was compromised. And the biggest rigor of this election is, people can safely allege, based on what is coming out right now, that it is the INEC chairman who is the biggest rigor of the election, the man who has betrayed the trust of the Nigerian people. And so, right now, everybody is buzzing. People are surprised, but they are buzzing with hope that it is looking like Peter Obi is coming. But having looked at all of the things that have been happening, all around, something caught my attention in everything that, the Obi's legal team have been doing. Are you aware that there are 18,000 polling unit results, that are not legible, and yet INEC declare results in those 18,000 polling units? 18,000 polling unit results not legible. Now we are talking of according to this evidence submitted by by the Obi's legal team. He said the Labour Party and its presidential candidate, Mr. Obi, tendered 18,088 blood polling unit result sheets, among other documents, in continuation of the prosecution of their case before the Presidential Election Tribunal. Now, this is huge. This is mammoth. This is huge because in an election where we have 170,000 polling units, okay, and 18,000, okay, had blood results, and yet, election, a president was declared in that election. It's an aberration of trust. It's a huge, betrayal of trust and betrayal of the process. Aberration of the highest order, to be very honest, and all of that. Now, why is this an aberration? I'm going to explain it to you. Now, I'm going to put this out there. Just see. Now, Presidential Election Petitioners Tribunal, why 18,000 blood IREV results is so important. This is why. Now, valid votes, okay, in all the votes, apportioned to Bola Tinubu, to Atiku Abubakar, and to Peter Obi, they all totaled 22 million. 22 million. Now, these 22 million votes, okay, we can safely say they are from 170,000 polling units. And if you divide 22 million on the average by 170,000 polling units, okay, we know that some polling units are less, some are a lot more, and all of that. But if you take an average, we find out that we are having about 135, okay, per a polling unit. Okay, now if you multiply 135 per a polling unit on the average, just an average, okay, by 18,800, or just by 18,000, leave the other, 88 on top of it, we have 2.4 million votes. 2.4 million votes. Meanwhile, in this election, which INEC says is credible, that INEC declared, okay, the man they declared President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, okay, won his closest rival with less than 2 million votes. I don't know why you guys understand the point I'm making now. Now, if there are 18,000 blood results, and see, these 18,000 results, they did not count, okay, they are blood, and yet the person you declared a winner got much less than the average of these 18,000 polling units. That is very, 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 very significant. It is significant, and it is something that I believe very strongly that a court of competent jurisdiction cannot afford to overlook. Because again, they have argued that if the evidences are not overwhelming enough to overturn the results, okay, Bola Ahmed Tinubu, remains the president. But the case that Peter Obi's legal team is proving is that the errors that took place in this election, they are significant enough to change, the outcome of the election. And that is exactly the case. And Obi is proving beyond reasonable doubt, okay, before the court, that he actually won the election. Because some of what we have not been told publicly, that is not making the rounds, is that Obi has been able to submit a mountain of evidence to show that the authentic results that were not declared by INEC, that INEC subverted, reveals that Obi and Yusuf Dati actually won the election. Not just won, they won, by a landslide. So what has happened is that the story of, they had technical glitches, there was this, there was that, there was a careful orchestration planned before the elections to say, whatever the outcome is going to be, this is what we are going to declare. So the results were already pre-arranged. And that is why, what's it called, the INEC chairman, okay, jettisoning all efforts to say, stay action, and let us look at this process critically before the results are declared. Because they already pre-arranged what they wanted to declare, and all of that. So this is exactly what is playing out right now. And I mean, for me, it's such a shame. that we are where we are right now. Okay, it's such a shame. It's so embarrassing that we are where we are right now, because some human beings, want to ensure that we remain where we are at the moment. Now, there are a few persons, this is another argument that's evolving right now. This one is only side court. Okay, there are people who are coming out right now. Even some people who are even Labour Party faithfuls, people who rode, on the popularity of Peter Obi, to win their own elections. Some of these very ungrateful people, some of these people who don't even understand, what the time is. People are beginning to come and say, Bola Ahmed Tinubu appears to be trying. He looks like he's doing a very nice job. As president, under 2 weeks, he has done this, he has done that, he has done that, blah, 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 blah. And I've got loads of people too that I discuss politics with, some of whom are equally like, the steps that Bola Ahmed Tinubu is taking right now as president, maybe, Obi should just rest. Maybe this, maybe that. Now, let me clear your head. For those who don't understand what the time is, let me clear your head. I am sure that there are so very many human beings out there, including myself, who, if given the chance to say, without election, you are named president of Nigeria, some of us will do a lot better, tell Nigeria a lot better than what we are even experiencing under Bola Ahmed Tinubu right now. Because there is no base for judgment now to say Bola Ahmed Tinubu is doing well. But that's not even the issue. Now the question is, and that's the fundamental question, that's the fundamental issue. Was Bola Tinubu elected by a true democratic process? Did Bola Tinubu meet the criteria to say, yes, we have a fair and a transparent democracy? That is the question. The issue of whether somebody does well as president or as an elected person, whatever, is on the flip side. It's on a different page altogether. It does not respond or answer the fundamental question, okay, for which Peter Obi and his team, they are in court for. And that question is, Bola Tinubu was not duly elected by the people of Nigeria. And when we say somebody be duly elected, this comes under the framework of democracy, which is a government of the people, by the people, and for the people. A democracy where the will of the majority, okay, counts, where the will of the majority is respected. Now, when there's a perversion of this will of the majority, then it calls for questioning. It brings many of us out to keep talking about this matter, without, resting on the matter. Now, the issue of, somebody, is showing signs of doing well, or it's not showing signs of doing well, or blah, 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 blah. It's not for us to judge at the moment. As a matter of fact, there is no base, there's no yardstick to make any judgment right now, because as far as I even know, if you want to even go to that discourse, I do not see anything in the last 2 weeks that has been done to ameliorate the sufferings of Nigerian people. But I don't want to go into that at the moment, okay? But because the issue we cannot deviate from is that, did Bola Ahmed Tinubu win the election that is supposed to be fair, free, and credible? And that is why Peter Obi is in court. And that is the essence of this matter. And this is so important because when it is democracy, if the people decide to say they want to elect a demon, a devil, as their president, and they give their vote, their majority vote to that devil as their president, the will of the people should be respected and that devil should be allowed to govern. If the people so decide that this is the person we want, and that is why democracy is so interesting. I remember years back in America, there were so many people who came out to say all sort of things about someone like, former President Trump. All sort of things. Many people have this impression about him and all of that. As a matter of fact, there is that argument that somebody like Trump and the way he presents himself, okay, is not even fit to be around the environment or corridor of even running for president of a great nation like America. But the Americans decided, by the will of their majority, that this man, that is not well liked by many people across this world, that this man, okay, that people have some very ugly perception about, that this man that does not fit into that political correctness, the majority of Americans came together and said, man, this man is the man we are electing, and they gave him their vote and he became president. And even as, you know, with all of his presentations and every other thing, in the last election, the American people decided to say, man, we are no longer giving you our mandate, and they elect another person. Now, what is important in this case is that whatever the Americans are enjoying right now based on their government, or what they've enjoyed previously based on their government, is a reflection of what the people decided. And the defense of democracy starts from ensuring that the will of the majority counts. In this particular case, the will of the majority has not counted. In this particular case, people are arguing, you know, safely that the election was not free, it was not fair, it was not credible. And so, whether somebody used money or used some power, some influence to get himself to be named president as alleged, and the person, okay, for some people is showing some brilliance or do something different from his predecessor, okay, it's a different ballgame altogether. Whether the man is doing well or is doing badly, it's a different story altogether. I remember some years ago, we had elections in Edo State where Dr. Shomole contested against somebody, a man called, Osarime Osumbo, and Osarime was declared winner of the elections. First few weeks, few months, couple of months, the man appeared to be steering the state in a direction different from his predecessor. And everybody was beginning to say, Osumbo is doing well. Maybe we made a mistake. Osumbo is doing well. Osumbo is doing well. You know, maybe, Osumbo should just forget. Meanwhile, Osumbo had gone to court. And what did the court do? Looking at the evidences before the court, the majesty of the majesty of the court decided, based on the evidence before her, that the duly elected governor of Edo State was Adamso Shomole. So it didn't matter what Osarime Osumbo had done. The court protected the interest of the majority and brought Oshomole to become governor. Whether Oshomole failed or succeed becomes a matter of discourse at another level. It had nothing to do with whom the people wanted at the time. It's the exact same case, which is why I want to appeal to everybody. Let us not discuss or measure right now or try to mix it to say, what's it called? Tinubu is doing well, is doing badly. Then we mix it with this court process. This court process has its own matter, which is distinctly different and cannot be used as a measurement, as a barometer, to not say, okay, this or that. Everybody must be focused. If you are obedient, remain obedient. If you are obedient, remain obedient. We're not the mixer. We're not the mixer. For me, it is no longer a question of whether Peter Obi is going to do well or whether he's not going to do well. The issue is, if Peter Obi won the election, he should be granted the powers to become president of Nigeria, because that is the will of the majority. If that becomes the case. And that is so important in this whole arrangement. Because at the end of the day, when if the will of the majority is able to count in a state like Nigeria, it therefore means that this same majority can use their power, understanding that power belongs to the people to decide what the future election is going to be like. But what we have done right now with INEC, what INEC has done right now, they've succeeded in throwing Nigeria in a state of topsy-turvy. They've succeeded in, making people lose confidence in the whole process. So if you call for election today, I can tell you that people will not be motivated to take part in it, because it will be believed that INEC, So we do not want a state like that, where INEC and the powerful and the rich in society are the ones who decide how the matter is going to go. Because that is not instilling confidence. Election where we had over 90 million people as registered voters, they are declaring that only 22 million people, came out to vote in this election. Almost the same number with the previous election. This election is I witnessed the highest turnout ever. People are even arguing. As a matter of fact, that we had not less than 40 million people come out to vote in this election. And yet, look at all the manipulations. Anyhow, I just wanted to leave that out there. And of course, to listen to, Bola Ahmed Tinubu on when he was giving his address, Democracy Day address, and all of that, and talking about, MKO Abiola, and the annulled June 12, 1993 presidential elections and every other thing, and trying to take us through, some history. You understand what I'm saying now? And all of that, and trying to use it to buttress the present, even stylishly threatening or so, the judges and all of that. And of course, sending some indirect messages to those in court, by saying things like, oh, if you don't win today, you can win tomorrow. If you win today, you may lose tomorrow, blah, 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 blah. To try to assuage, the people and stuff like that. I find it. I mean, even though it's Democracy Day, I know that referencing MKO Abiola, June 12, 1993 elections that was annulled by what's his name, by Babangida and his own goons and every other thing, of course should capture that particular moment. But we hear that this is coming from somewhere like Bola Ahmed Tinubu, whose election, does not in any way compare, to June 12, 1993. It's a huge sarcasm for me, because at the end of the day, this is a man who has not owned up to the fact that whatever brought him up right now as president is hugely flawed. Whatever brought him up right now as president is a matter that needs to be, properly looked at, and all of that, So they're still making the claim that, yes, he won the election fair and square and stuff like that. And that's very, very annoying. Particularly when Bola Ahmed Tinubu himself, was a strong loyalist of MKO Abiola. One would have expected that these are people who should, looking at what he has done equally to fight for democracy and every other thing, join the struggle to ensure that the military junta were removed from Nigeria and all of that. He would have been that kind of a person who would be a beacon of what a true Democrat should be like and every other thing. But now issuing, statements like as this and all of that in the national address, for me, it's very opposite of what is playing out right now. There is no resemblance in any way, because in that election, in fact, it was evident to the blind, to the opposition, that MKO Abiola won this election. There was no effort that we could see, because some of us, we took part in that election, we witnessed it, we fought for that election itself and every other thing and all of that. I was a member of a JACON, after the annulment of that election, I joined JACON, Joint Action Committee on Democracy and every other thing and all of that. So we saw exactly what happened in that election. There was no manipulation of the people of the vote or the votes. There is always so overwhelming. INEC, as it were, I don't know what it was called that time, did not manipulate or change the result of that election. It was just Babangida who got the result and saw that, man, look, he doesn't want to declare the winner for this election. And he annulled the election. That's a purely different ballgame. If it were that environment that this election took place in, okay, and all of that, and they're giving the free hand as they have today to announce the result, okay, if it is now that MKO took part in an election like this and every other thing, and there was no manipulation and blah, 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 and then they can announce the real result as they were, definitely, a proper winner would emerge, and there will be arguments. I am very sure that people would even go to court, because it would have been very overwhelming and very clear to everybody. But in this case, this is different. This election is being contested seriously. People have, PDP has brought in some witness that came to testify that Peter Obi won in some places and every other thing. So at the end of the day, we have a process that, must not be truncated.
We currently enjoyed since 1999. In rising to strongly oppose the arbitrary annulment of the will of the majority of Nigerians, as expressed in that historic election, the substantial number of...
Now, when Bola Ahmed Tinubu, talked about annulment of the will of the majority, Nigerians, let me let you know that the only semblance between then and now is that the will of the majority in the February 25th, 2023 elections, was equally annulled. In this case, by INEC. Was annulled, the will of the majority was subverted, in this case by INEC. And that is the argument before us in court. That is the argument that the Peter Obi's team are making. And that is the argument we cannot run away from. It is the argument we cannot sweep under the carpet. It is not an argument to say whether somebody that has been sworn in as some people will say temporary president is doing well or is not doing well. Anyway, let me know, talking about. I just want to use this broadcast to let Nigerians know that so far so good. So far so good. The course, by the Peter Obi's legal team appear to be gaining positive momentum. And looking at, we don't know what the judgment is going to be eventually, but every day by day, people have reasons to be encouraged, that the team is doing well. People are beginning to, point at points, and some people are even arguing that based on what has been presented so far, the few witnesses that have been called, the bundle of exhibits that have been presented to the court and accepted by the court, there is no way that this court can rule otherwise. It will ever be two things. Cancel the election and ask that another election be conducted in 90 days, or declare Peter Obi the outright winner of the presidential election. That's the two things that appear to be, looking likely based on what is happening so far. But anyhow, Nigeria is a state where magic takes place very often. Sometimes it is not where the people, it is not the direction of the majority or the people, so to speak, that some of these judges sometimes face. But whatever it is, the process is ongoing. Let us keep faith with the process. Yes, it is the Comrade Show. My name is Comrade Lamte Monsaregi. Just to give us out that update. For people who are saying that, we are not coming out very often to give these updates. Look, a lot is happening across Nigeria, but we are going to be strategic in our things. Because this case is in court, we equally want to give proper analysis of the situation. You understand the picture I'm saying? But I think Obedience should be happy with this news coming out that, Amazon has come out, to say that there was nothing like a technical glitch. And if Amazon has said that, there are so many other things that has come with that, as part of the exhibit. You understand what I'm saying? That will further prove the case that Peter Obi actually, won the election. So let's keep faith with the process, my people. I'll see you when I see you. My name is Comrade Lamte Oriaki. Don't go too far away. Bye for now.
Comrade Show. Comrade Lamte Oriaki. This is the Comrade Show.